right, so we're going to review the Ran. So looking at the Ran again, just to go over everything he says. So the Ran says, "V'yesh kan she'ela moro anshei knesses agdol lachlok mitzvah yomim chalukim v'likvo yom yuchal the prazim v'yom yuchal the krachim ma she'ein came b'shar mitzvos shariat Torah amra Torah achas mishpat echad." So his question is, how could Purim be 2 days? Okay, but not because Purim is divided up in 2 days in the sense of you could have a 2-day holiday. But the problem is that why would Chazal in their right minds possibly go ahead and create a hodal and a recognition of a miracle where half the Jews would celebrate it on the 14th and the other half celebrate on the 15th? You don't have such a thing. Okay,
that's a problem because it just doesn't make sense, or because you don't find it anywhere else.
No, so he says, okay, underneath it is you don't find it anywhere else. But what he's really saying is it violates the principle of Torah achas and mishpat echad. Torah achas and mishpat echad means that you have one Torah for everybody. So what are you going to have? You're going to have. Why would it make sense to set up a 2 days where one day half the people are doing it, the other day the other half the people are doing it? Doesn't make sense. It violates Torah achas and mishpat echad. So when they're going to koveya a yantiv, they're going to make it in a way where everyone celebrates. Okay. So I remember someone asked me, and when I gave this over in the shul, someone asked me, well, why couldn't you have, we didn't take this up yesterday, why couldn't you have 2 days of everybody celebrating? Okay, why do we know that can't be the case? Why couldn't you have 2 days of everybody celebrating? Have 2 days of Purim for everybody. That would get out of the problem for Achas Mishpat Echad. And the Ron never takes up as a possibility. Good, so Ezra's going to say it's lacking historical accuracy, right? So, because the fact is, hold off of that because either on bonds and become problematic. But you can just say that people aren't celebrating, right? So that's one answer. Another answer you can give also is you could say that you see the way they set it up is that there's no nafkamina between the 2 days, right? So, which means that they're the same experience. But Ezra, your answer is fine. Your answer is basically that at the end of the day, that you want to keep in mind the historical accuracy. Okay, fine.
Why is
problem is Chazal want 2 days of Purim, right? But at the same time, it violates the principle of Torah achas mishpat echad. Okay. So he gives his first answer. He says, "Yesh lamar shebibnei shayudim ha'yoshim arei ha'prazos v'hayudim ha'sheber shushan lo nachum mo'eveim b'yom echad sharei ha'yehudim ha'prazim nachu b'arba asar v'hayudim ha'sheber shushan nachu b'chamisha asar v'asum aleim kol echad b'yom menuchaso mishteh v'simcha." Okay, so what happened? So what happened was that each group had their own celebration. The people lived in the Prazim in basically all unwalled cities around the world. When did they celebrate Purim? On the day that they stopped fighting their enemies, on the day of victory. And what day was that? The 14th. Okay, who celebrated the 15th? Shushan. The Megillah records that Shushan wanted an extra day to defeat their enemies, so they celebrated the 15th. So what's his answer ultimately? Okay, what's his answer at this point? So this is what we were saying yesterday. What we were saying is that the answer is that Purim is about commemorating a certain event, and Chazal turn to precedents. Right? There's halachic precedents for how to establish these types of yantivs. So what do they have to do? They're going to commemorate an event. It has to take place on the day that the event took place on. Simple as that. Like you said, David, Pesach takes place on the day we had Yetzias Mitzrayim. Right? Shavuos takes place on the day we received the Torah. So the celebration, you're not just celebrating something abstract, you're celebrating a specific event. So therefore, what Chazal are faced with is that you have a celebration on the 14th, and the Megillah records a completely separate celebration on the 15th, and you want to ensure that the historical accuracy extends to the future. But the problem is that on the same time you have Torah achas u'mishpat echad. So that's the first move. The first step is that the svara of the Ran is that Chazal are relying on halachic precedent. They want to be able to take. They want to say that since we're commemorating an event, the historical accuracy must be expressed, okay, in the recreation of and the kaviyas of the holiday. Okay, let's take Purim. Okay, let's take Independence Day. Okay, let's take Independence Day. So there's two ideas in Independence Day. One is the phenomenon itself of America being independent from Britain.
Right.
Okay, that idea. And that's the idea that's expressed on Independence Day. But then there's the fact that it took place on July 4th. Right? So in order to make it more of a reality, for it to resonate, so you always want to celebrate it on the day that it took place. Because it resonates with the person. He recognizes, today was the day that the idea of independence was born. The same thing by Purim. There's a certain idea of Purim of Nes Nistar, okay? So it's not, you don't need the day that it took place on in order to understand the idea of Nes Nistar, but certainly it makes it easier and you relate to it in a stronger way if you're commemorating the actual event. And the raya again is by Pesach. It says Chayiv Adam b'chol dor dor. In every generation, Chayiv Adam laharos etzatzmo ki'iluhu yatzam mitzrayim. But what day? On the day of Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's what you have to. What do you call? That's what you have to have in mind.
It's more important.
Yes, it seems that way at this point. Okay, clear. So now you have to steal the problem with Torah Achas Mishpat Echad. Okay, so what's his move? So the Ran says Lefika kishakavu alehem yom tov l'doros. So when they went ahead and established this Purim, this Yom Tov for generations in the future, kavu l'kol echad biyom shenach bo. So they were koveya based on the day that each group of people rested from defeating their enemies. The hishvu kol krachim. Now this is what he slips in. The hishvu kol krachim hamukafim chomel l'shushan. Okay, so this is his move. So they equated, okay, Shushan to the Krachim. Forget walled for a second. Just they extended Shushan because in Shushan was the Ikar Nes. So what's troubling the Ran? Like we said before, what's troubling the Ran is that if you don't go ahead and do this, what's going to happen after another 50 years? Shushan Purim will cease to exist, right? Because Shushan will eventually cease to exist. So you're going to have a big problem. You're going to have a problem of they want to capture Shushan. Okay, but at the same time, you can't do it if Shushan's going to cease to exist. So what do? They take Shushan and they say any city that has so and so trait like Shushan, we're going to celebrate Shushan Purim on the 15th. Okay, the problem is he calls it Ikar Nes. He says that the whole idea of Shushan, what was the importance of ensuring that Shushan continued to exist because the Ikar Nes took place there. So what does it mean Ikar Nes? What kind of idea is that? Okay, and how does this answer the problem of Torah Achas and Mishpat Echad? See, if you look at the Ran never says that's the problem. Okay, our job is to say, one second, how does he solve the problem of Torah Achas and Mishpat Echad?
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, it's hard to still, you have to...
So back to the Ran. Okay, so the Ran says, so the problem, as we're saying, is that what's going to happen if you don't extend Shushan to the other cities? What's going to happen? If you don't extend Shushan to other cities, what will happen over time?
It'll die out.
It'll die out, right? Okay. So the question is, the big move in the Ran is, what does Ikar Nes mean? What's Ikar Nes? What's Ikar Nes? Right? What's Ikar Nes?
Ikar Nes.
So we said last time.
It was the Ikar, idea of the Nes.
No, close.
It was the Ikar. It's not the Ikar day as much as it's an Ikar for your fundamentals.
No. Before you get that, but what does it mean Ikar Nes? Like what happened in Shushan?
It was the main part of what the decree originated from.
But the decree originated from there. The plan was there, etc. Right? A lot of the events that were critical to this whole thing working out were there, right? So that's the case. So now the question is that so what does that have to do with here? And how does it get us out of the problem Torah Achas Mishpat Echad? So we want to propose this as follows. We want to propose that you see who is really Shushan Purim set up for?
The Shushan people.
Who is Shushan Purim really set up for?
Future people?
Oh, everyone.
Everyone.
Sorry.
Okay. Shushan Purim is set up for everyone.
Yesterday.
Right. I know. Shushan Purim is set up for everybody, for everyone. Okay. What does that mean? It means that the existence of Shushan Purim is there for the Shushanites, but it's also there for the people on Yudalid. So this way, because they need to know about the fact that they have their attention has to be focused on the fact that the Ikar Nes took place in Shushan. So if you don't have a Shushan Purim, there'll be a lack in the celebration on Yudalid. So that's why it's not a violation of Torah Achas and Mishpat Echad, because on the 14th you're celebrating both the 14th, and you're recognizing that there's an existence of a 15th. Okay, that was the main move we made. Okay, that's the main move. Okay, that I think is what the Ran's trying to get across. That's how you get out of violation of Torah Achas and Mishpat Echad, because Shushan Purim is for everybody, right? It's not just for the people on Shushan itself. Okay? All right? So, now, what's his next move? So the next question is then, so what about, why is it walled cities? What is it about walled cities that we're isolating?
Wait.
So what do we say? So why did Chazal choose walled cities, or wallness, as the feature? Why did Chazal choose walled as a feature? So what do we say? So we said it's based on, again, halachic precedent. You see there's a differentiation between Bati Arechoma, between an Ir Mukaf and Eretz Yisrael, from regular cities. There's a high level of Kedusha to it. So when Chazal go ahead and choose to figure out a method, see, they can't just extend Shushan. They can't just say, we're going to pick random cities. There has to be some system. So the system they use is that they use a halachic precedent. They see that Mukafan are more chashuv, right? So we're going to use that as the basis to extend Shushan. Okay? And then the final thing in the Ran, right, was why did the walled cities have to be walled in the times of Yeshua ben Nun? Right? So what was the answer, factually? So the Ran says, it's covered Eretz Yisrael. And he explains, says, a parish Enyan, Shekim, Shehutzuchu, Lachlok, Ben Mukafin, Leishem Mukafin, Kishem, Nichlaka, Shushan, Mishar, Yaros, right? Ein Talo Davar Mimos Achashverosh. One second, wait, hold on, I lost the spot. Ilu Talo Davar Mimos Achashverosh, Haised Shosh, Haised Chariva, Ba'osan Yamim, Donis Kiprazim, V'haya Gnai B'davar. Okay?
Overrides the accuracy.
So he said that there's an idea that when Hashgacha takes place, it's always centered in Eretz Yisrael. Right? And the problem, one of the defective features of Purim is that there was a nace that took place outside of Eretz Yisrael. So people shouldn't think that it's important that people should recognize that it's true that nace took place outside of Eretz Yisrael, but ultimately the ideal place for nace to take place is Eretz Yisrael. So that's what would be Gnai if you had no one in Eretz Yisrael celebrate Shushan Purim. Okay, so when you see an Ikar Nace, you shouldn't forget about the importance of Eretz Yisrael and the scheme and the scheme of what do you call it, of how Nisim work. Okay, so that's the run. That's the run. Okay, that's the run. Now, get your finger on the spot. Look at the Ramban. Okay, this is critical. This is very, very difficult. So he says like this. He says
He brings down the Raman, or is this
the Ramban. He does. He's about to. He says Aval HaRamban. Okay, Aval HaRamban Zal. No saint tam acher. Zatzal, yeah, that's the Bracha. Okay, no saint tam acher lachlok hazman shal prazum mukafim. So the Ramban gives an alternate reason for why there's a separation between prazum and mukafim. V'omer shebizmana shal neis zekvar nifkedu Yisrael ve'alu b'rishayon koresh v'nis yashu b'areim. Okay, so already you have a problem. Okay, and just to get the Ramban in the Chidusha Ramban says that he investigated the Ksuvim. Which means that he looked into different books in history. So he says like this: "This is what happened." He says, "In the times of Achashverosh, okay." He says, "All right, here we go." That most of the Jews had gone back to Eretz Yisrael, okay, and were living in Eretz Yisrael in different cities, okay. Even though Haman said that there were these people, the Jewish people were spread out all over the world, right? Okay, so according to the Ramban, okay, most of the Jews and Anshe Knesset Gedola were in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, which means that Eretz Yisrael was not in a state of Chariva. Okay, the Ran says, the thing about this is so difficult. I don't have an answer for this. This is just Mitzias. The Ran says historically, Eretz Yisrael was in a state of desolation in the times of Achashverosh. There were really very few Jews there. Okay, and there were no built-up cities. According to the Ramban, okay, most of the Jews were already in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, and the cities were therefore built up. Now, let me ask you a question. Who comes after the times of Achashverosh? Okay, Ezra. Remember Ezra? And what did Ezra do?
Built the
Second Beis Hamikdash. And who did he come up with?
like 20,000 people.
Jews.
Yeah, Jews.
Right? But according to the Ramban, there weren't many Jews that came up with them. Most of the Jews were already in Eretz Yisrael. Okay? What point am I trying to bring across? The Ramban has a different historical narrative.
Right.
A very different historical
So
narrative.
you would hold by the time of Achashverosh.
But hold on, right up there yet.
Seems to make more sense.
Hold on. Don't jump ahead yet. Okay. Now here, this is the move that, now forget the historical narrative difference. I don't care about that. That's a separate issue. This is the key to focus on. So when Achashverosh says he's going to destroy and kill all the Jews, okay, Hayu haprazim v'hay ayarosh ein lahem choma saviv b'safek sakana gedola, right? Shalu yalu aleim oivim yoser min hamukafim choma. Okay, so now Achashverosh. I love this. Achashverosh sends out a decree. And the decree says that they're going to end up killing all the Jews. Now you have two kinds of cities that exist in the world. You have unwalled cities and you have walled cities. Who's more scared?
Unwalled cities.
Unwalled cities. Why?
It's not
Because
protected.
Not protected. Not protected. And what's going to happen?
Invaded.
Get
They-
sacked.
Right. They're going to come in and they're going to destroy the Jews. Right? So the Prazim experienced a very, very large amount of sakana. And the Mukafim did not. Okay? Ukishanasa nes, but when the nes occurred, asu kulam yom noach umishta. Now this is key. When the nes occurred, okay, when the Jews defeated their enemies, everybody celebrated on the same day. Okay, meaning Mukafin and Prazim both celebrated on what day?
14th.
The 14th. Okay, everyone's celebrating the 14th. Okay, Kedichsev Ushar Hayudim, because it says in the Megillah, the other Jews, meaning both Mukafim and Prazim, both walled and unwalled. Okay, Asher b'nos Melech Nikaluva Bonanasham B'Yom Shosha Asarbo V'Noach Be'Arba Asarbo Ve'Asa Oso Yom Shtev Simcha. Okay, so when did 99% of the world celebrate? On the 14th, both Mukafin and Prazim. V'Shel Shushan Gam Kein Asu Mimachar Asanes, and Shushan had their own party the day after the Nes. Okay, Shalahan. V'Zeh B'Shnas. Okay. V'zeh b'shnas hanes levad. Now here's the next key step in the Ramban. So what's the Ramban saying up to this point? The Ramban saying there were plenty of walled cities in the world, including Eretz Yisrael, at the time of the Nes Purim. Okay, the only people who were scared, right, were the unwalled cities, but the walled cities weren't scared. But the walled cities celebrated with the unwalled cities. There was one big worldwide Jew party, right, a big Jewish party on the 14th, okay? And Shushan celebrated on the 15th. But this all happened when? The year of the Nes Purim. In that year alone, okay? In that year alone. Now, just think ahead for a second, okay? Listen to this. He says, V'zeh b'shnas hanes levad. Ula'achar mikam b'shanim abos. So in later years, what happened? Amdu Prazim, the Prazim, the unwalled cities, on their own volition, okay, got up, v'nagu ma'atzman lasos arbasa simcha mishtem yom tov. So they decided to continue the celebration on this day, on the 14th, of what happened back then, okay? So the unwalled cities continue to celebrate, okay? But, aval, mukafin lo asu klum, but the walled cities didn't celebrate. Because their miracle was not as great as the Prazim. Got to be sensitive to his language here. Their miracle was not as great as the Prazim. What does that mean? What do you mean it wasn't as great as the Prazim? Weren't they saved? Weren't they saved? Weren't the walled city people saved just as much as the unwalled city people?
No.
Yeah, but
Really? All the Jews were saved.
Less so.
Think about why. Less so because of the nays or because of what?
The wall.
Danger.
What?
Danger.
Right. Well, which danger though? Whose danger was it? Let me rephrase the question. I say which danger. What I mean is that
Jews.
What is he?
The city.
Well, what does he say before? Why were the Mukafim? What was the Mukafim's reaction to Achashverosh's edict that all Jews are going to be killed? What did they say? If you're in a walled city and you hear the Jews, I'm a Jew, I'm in a walled city, and the Jews are going to be killed. What's your reaction? Ramban. No, what's your reaction, Ramban?
Well,
are you nervous or not?
Not so much.
Not so much.
Not so
No, but not so much.
People
not so
that
much.
don't have the wall are more vulnerable.
So what he's saying, but think about what he's saying. He's saying, you got to pick up on this. He's saying that the experience of sakana
is what defines the nace.
is what is part of the definition of the nace. Okay, he's saying, why was it less of a nace for Mukafin? Because they didn't have the same experience of feeling like they were saved. Okay, got to stick to what the Ramban's saying. Okay. Now, but there's another question you have to ask though. Also, okay. So, okay, but just to review, okay? So the year that Purim took place, so on the 14th, all cities except for Shushan celebrated, okay? Why would you think the Mukafim would have celebrated on the 14th as well? Why did the Mukafim celebrate at all?
Well, I guess they grouped themselves together with Shushan.
No, they celebrated on the 14th.
Oh.
Hold off on the question, okay? But right now, this is what happened in that year. What happened in later years? Only the unwalled cities got up on their own volition and established Purim for themselves. But what happened to the Mukafim? They didn't, because it wasn't as great of a nace by them.
So, okay, why would they celebrate also on the 15th?
We're after that yet. Hold on.
Well,
That's
I got something.
That's a critical question. I
mean, you still have to worry a little bit.
You're 100% correct.
Until Shushan was done.
For sure. So listen to this. He says, "Aval Mukafim lo suklum." The fishalei hanes gadol kaprazim. V'zeu shekasuv, and when it says Al kain hayudim haprazim hayoshim v'yaprazos, okay, osim as yom arba asar lechol shadar simcha umishta. So the Megillah only records the celebration of the Purim. That the Purim, it says Al Kain, the Jews who lived in unwalled cities celebrated always on the 14th. Okay, but v'lo huzkuru kamu kafim klal. But there's no mention of walled cities. There's no mention in the Megillah whatsoever of walled cities. Okay, now here's the key. So now you have a problem. So what's happening? So you have this is a fascinating historical version. Okay, in year 1 of Purim, okay, everybody partied. In year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay, whatever how long it was, only the unwalled cities partied on the 14th, and Shushan partied on the 15th, right? But walled cities just didn't party. Okay, so now you have a problem, right? Because obviously today we know
it's like split into three groups.
One group is not celebrating.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, so what happens? Okay, so the Ramban says as follows. He says, "Ula'achar zman," after a period of time, sheheir hakadosh baruch hu einayim. What does that mean? Sheheir hakadosh baruch hu einayim. What does that mean? Heir from or in light.
Okay.
God, their eyes. What does that really mean? It's being literally. They were enlightened, meaning what? Who enlightened them? God. So some sort of hashgacha.
Yeah.
Like a nevuah. Okay. Umatu smachim in the Torah. It's also interesting, and they found a source in the Torah. So two things took place. Okay. First, God tells them, gives them some sort of knowledge, like opens up their eyes to something, and they search in the Torah for some sort of source. Amon Mordechai, Ubeis Dino. So Mordechai and his Beis Din got up. V'ro divrayim shel prazim. Okay, and they saw what the prazim had done, that they made continued celebration. Sheroi hanes hazeh lasas lo zecher ledoros. So they realized, based on what the prazim had done, they realized that now this miracle must be saved and reproduced for the generations to come. Okay, so they took the celebration of the Prazim, v'kavu oso akol Yisrael, and they were koveyat on all Jews. Okay, shekulon haya b'safek, because everybody, whether or not you were in a mukafim or a praz, you were in a state of sakana. Okay, but 1 second. But the question then is, so why have 2 days?
Right.
He's not explaining 2 days, right? He's just explaining how they want to ensure there was a day of Purim. So why do you have 2 days? V'roi, okay, lahakdim prazim l'mukafim, but they felt it was appropriate to have the celebration of the prazim come before the celebration of the mukafim. Why? Nation nisam haya gadol, right? Because the nace of the prazim was greater. Shehim itzchilu b'mitzvah tzchila lasos lahem levadam yanto. How was the nace of the prazim greater? Is greater in their celebration, because they went ahead and celebrated Yudal and continued to celebrate. So that's an indication that there was a greater nace there. Okay, Lefika kavu yom Noach shel prazim biyoman, and so therefore they designated the day of the Noach of the prazim as their day of Purim, right? V'shel krachim mukafim kavu biyom Noach shel Shushan. But now what are they going to do with mukafim? So what do? They attached it to Shushan. Okay, why they attach it to Shushan? Why they attach it to Shushan? Why they attach it to Shushan?
It was the ending of this, complete ending of the Sakana.
Okay, it's possible. I don't know. We have to answer that. Okay, but what's crazy and astonishing about this Ramban? What's like eye opening? Forget the different historical version, because the Ran challenges the Ramban, and the next part of the Ran is all like attacking the Ramban. It's crazy, right? But what do you have to ask in the Ramban? Let's just, again, factually, what's the Ramban telling you? The Ramban's telling you that there was plenty of... Notice, there's no issue of Kavod Eretz Yisrael according to the Ramban.
Why does he see the stuff of mainly west because there's a sakana?
That's a great question. Okay, that's a great question. Well, forget where he gets it from. I'm saying, but that's a great question. What's that idea? Let's just go in order, though. So what are the facts? So he's saying that, no, there were plenty of walled cities in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so he just takes that whole business of Kavod Eretz Yisrael, he just erases that. That such a concept is not even applicable, right? So what happened? What happened was as follows. A little more complex historically, but what happened was that when Achashverosh came out with his edict, if you were in an unwalled city, you were scared out of your mind. If you're in a walled city, okay, a little scared, not so much. Okay. After the Nace, what happens historically? They celebrate the Prazim and the Mukafim celebrate. That 1 year they both celebrated. They partied. Okay. But after that first year, the Mukafim stopped celebrating because what happened there? Not so big deal. Not such a big deal. But the Prazim continued to celebrate. Okay. Later on, you have some sort of nevuah, and he finds some sort of halachic source, and Mordechai says, you know what? We must be kovea this. We must take the Purim experience and kovea that for all of Yisrael. Okay? So thus, the creation of Purim. Now the problem is, why have 2 days? So his answer is that, it's interesting, v'roi lahaktim. Okay? You got to understand what he's saying there. Okay? Is he saying that there's 2 different days of Purim? Is he saying that?
Not really.
No. He's saying v'roi lahaktim. You just have to, what?
You have to make it before.
Right, you have to make it before. You have to proceed, one has to precede the other. Why do the Prazim have to precede the Mukafim? Because the Prazim had the greater nace. Okay? But you can't let Mukafim die out. So when is Mukafim going to take place? They attach it to Tesvav. Okay? So let me ask you a question. According to the Ramban, okay, when should Purim have taken, what's the real Iker Day of Purim?
14th.
And according to the Ram, what's the Iker Day of Purim?
15th.
Alright. If you want to have
Steve,
the basic set, no, not Steve, it's Machokas. If you want the setup though, the setup is, the Ran saying the Iker is really the 15th. Right? The Ramban